Hi, how are you?
How are you today?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you as well.
Where are you coming out of?
I live in Florida, Space
O-
Coast, down there where all the satellites are coming out.
Okay. All right.
SpaceX, yeah, near the Air Force Base.
So in 2020, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. And in 2020, when everybody was locked down and didn't know what was going on, everybody was outside. We had a bonfire going. And all of a sudden we see the lights just start going in a row. I was like, okay, okay, here they come. My whole life, I've been
Isn't
waiting
that
for Close
wild? The
Encounters.
Starlinks, those are so cool, huh?
Yeah, it's
First time
wild.
I saw it, I didn't know what it was. I was
I didn't.
freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, we're being
Yeah.
invaded.
Of course. And then, of course, this was like in May of 2020. So we're already freaked out. And then this comes and it's
Yeah.
like, all right, this is the time for the aliens to arrive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I had the same reaction.
It was wild, wild.
That's so funny.
So you've had quite a run in life. And I want to kind of peel back the layers here. And to begin with, as we've touched on, COVID was a strange time. How did you get through that 3.5 year period? And how did it ultimately change you?
So, because I can see things that other people can't, I see evil in the world as well as the good.
Yeah.
And I knew that the whole thing was a scam. You don't treat people, you don't act that way. It was very totalitarian. And I begged my sister, her and her husband were going to go get the jab. I begged them not to do it. I explained to her, I said, listen, I said, it's an evil plan. They're going to depopulate. She thinks I'm nuts. Are you crazy? I'm telling you, I said, ask for an ingredient list. There isn't one. You don't know what they're putting in your body. If you do your research, it was patented in 1984. It's been sitting in warehouses forever. I'm telling you, it's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. And she lives her life in fear, sadly, and she's living the repercussions from it. But the first thing I did, I was had been writing my autobiography that got interrupted because I kept hearing, write the book, and I'm like, I'm writing the book. They're like, no, write the other book. I'm like, what other book? I was teaching mediumship and psychic development prior to COVID, and they wanted me to write that book. So I'm like, well, if you want me to write that book, you need to channel it. So I wrote that book literally in 6 weeks and published it.
Wow.
So I'm back to writing my autobiography, and I published that. And then I started with a 7-week program, because most of the people that would come to me, it's always about relationships. How do I fix my marriage? I'm brokenhearted, blah, blah, blah. And I literally channeled a program with the angels for 7 weeks and put a program together that helps people change their energy, understand why things are happening in their life, connect with their soul. And when you connect with your soul and you make decisions that way, if you're supposed to be with somebody, you will be. It only takes one person to make or break a relationship, and there's always one person that's in charge. So that's the person that always comes to me. And every single person that did the program, some people had to do it twice because you can read a book and not absorb it. But everyone that did that program, their life changed 180 degrees. And if they were supposed to be with that person, they were able to make that decision from their soul and reconcile the relationship. And it's been amazing. So it takes one person to make or break a relationship. For every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. So when you change, everything else around you changes. So I teach someone how to look at life from a higher perspective, why they're here. And then I just, I realized through the hundreds of people that went through my program that there's 5 soul lessons that we're here to learn. Everyone's here to learn the same lessons. Hence my new book, which is All's Fair in Love and Karma, and 5 steps to relationship mastery. And that's what the program is, the relationship mastery program. And we're all here to learn those 5 lessons. And every lesson reinforces the previous lesson. And some people don't need all the lessons. Some people do. Some people only need a few of the lessons. But we're all here for the same lessons. And the first one is self-worth. And self-worth is not about value. Value is different. Value is what other people put on you. Self-worth is understanding that you're worth more than what other people value you, because you're the only one that's here. Isn't it wonderful that they thought they needed you and they created just you? So you're here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And when you can put yourself first, which is not narcissistic and it's not selfish. It's where everything else comes from. Because if you can't take care of you, you can't take care of anything else, can you? You won't be here for it. So that's the first lesson that people need to learn. Then they need to learn unconditional love. Unconditional love, it doesn't mean that you have to have that person in your life. Unconditional love means I want the best for you. I'm happy for the time that we've had together. I wish you well, but for whatever reason, I can't have you in my life, and still loving that person. And I give a simple example of that. Suppose you had a child that did something horrendous, like murdered a neighbor in rage, and they end up in prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but hopefully you still love the child. That's unconditional love.
Yeah.
Okay. Money and balance. We learn everything in the universe has to stay in balance, and we learn balance in this lifetime with money. Okay. It's called currency because it's energy. Everything is energy. And there has to be an equal for everything, the yin and the yang. For, you go grocery shopping, you pay, you get an equal amount back. So balance is very important. Everything has to be in balance. People that go off the deep end when there's a full moon, that's a great indicator that you're not in balance. You should keep your emotions in balance as well.
I'm a Libra, so I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the highs aren't so highs and the lows aren't so lows, but life is really nice and smooth when you're all in balance.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And then you have trust and communication. You have to trust that you created this plan here, and things aren't happening to you. They're happening for you and for your highest and best. There's no accidents in this world. Everything happens for a reason. And, you have to learn how to communicate your wants and needs to other people, because you can't build trust with someone if you can't communicate, right? And you can't communicate if you can't trust. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And even sex is just another form of communication. If you can't communicate outside the bedroom, you'll never communicate inside the bedroom, because you have to trust that person enough to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have patience. And we live in a world that everybody wants everything right now, instant gratification. And we created time here. Time does not exist anywhere else in the universe. We created time to try and control a crazy world that we really have no control over. Okay. So the universe will bring you everything you've asked for and everything you want and you need, but it's not necessarily going to be in the time that you want it to be. It's going to be in the time that it's supposed to be there. It may be that, maybe you want to get married and have children. And the clock's ticking, right? Dong, dong, dong. And hitting 30, hitting 40. Well, I guess it's never going to happen. And suddenly you meet a widower or widower who has 4 or 5 small children that come into your life, and now you're their parent. So you don't remember what it is you wrote for your plan, but there is a plan, and it will always bring you what it is you want or you asked for in the time that it's supposed to.
It's interesting. I keep thinking about how the cornerstone to everything we ingest, artistically and otherwise, is all about love and relationships. But we're all historically so bad at it whenever we begin. You know what I'm saying? We just don't get it.
The thing is this. So we're all here to learn those lessons, and we don't learn those lessons faster on this side than we do on the other side. And we learn them that much faster within a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. No matter what everything's a relationship. Your boss is a relationship. Your children are a relationship. Your significant other, whether it's an emotional relationship, a sexual relationship, we're in a relationship with everybody and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I teach people to do, so we have a brain in our head, right? Most people.
Yeah.
So your brain serves a purpose. Your brain, other than helping you to do the things that you need to do and process information, your brain's primary goal is to protect you. That's your brain's duty. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So most people run around making all their decisions in fear. Okay. And because they're not balanced, they're making them very emotionally as well, in fear. Okay, I'm afraid she's going to lose me. I'm afraid I'm going to lose this. I'm afraid he's going to fire me. All right. So when you learn, because we're energetic beings, we are our soul. We are not the suit we're wearing. When you get in touch with your soul, you can start making the right decisions. When you make the decision from your brain in fear. It's literally a crapshoot. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but you're always questioning it, right? When you make your decision from your soul, it's always the right decision 100% of the time, and you don't question it, and it always works out for your highest and best. Even if you can't see it at the time, say you fall in love with this woman and you know in your soul you're supposed to marry this person, and you have 2 or 3 children, and it's a wonderful 10 years, but then it falls apart and you get divorced. You're like, oh, I listened to my soul. It could have been the right decision. But it was, because you couldn't have had those children with anybody else, right? Maybe that was the only purpose.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 different types of relationships. There's soulmates, karmics, and twin flames. And a lot of relationships are karmic, and they're just simply there to teach you something, or you to teach the other person something.
Yeah.
It's a learning process.
Yeah,
And
that's interesting.
you know, you're supposed to be enjoying the ride here. This is not supposed to be difficult. It's not supposed to be it's not supposed to be something that you don't enjoy. We're
Yeah.
here, you know, we're here to learn, we're here to help others, but we're also here to have a vacation. People forget that. You're here to have fun and play.
Yeah.
You know, you go back to
Absolutely.
the other side, you don't have a body anymore. And it's a
Yeah.
long time before you come back again and have that body you can play.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get to the essence of exactly what you do for a living on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 3rd graders. It's career day. One of the kids says, "What do you do for a living?" How would you answer that child?
I help people. I help people that are having confusion in life, that are having crisis in their life, that don't know what they're supposed to be doing next. I help people understand why they're here, and I help people look at their life from a higher perspective so that they can really enjoy their life and get on the path that they're supposed to be on.
So what did you want to be in the 3rd grade? What was your dream?
I wanted to be a movie star.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when did you discover the psychic gifts? When did you discover this clairvoyance, this way of life that was going to take you where you're at today?
Well, I didn't know it was going to take me where I am today. You never really know where the ride's going to take you,
Yeah.
but I've had a lot of ability since I was a child.
Okay.
And everyone has the ability. I tell everybody it's like playing a piano. Some people can only sit down and play chopsticks, right? Other people can really apply themselves and learn a couple of pieces. Other people, you know, they really study it hard and they can be a concert pianist. And then you have the child prodigy that sits down and plays Mozart. That's
Yeah.
me. So when I was a child, my youngest memories were probably around 3 or 4 years old, and I would hear people calling my name and think it was my parents and get up and they're fast asleep. And then I would see faces in my room, and then I'd start seeing full body apparitions, and it scares the bejesus out of you when you're a kid and you can't
Yeah.
talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
And then when you get older and you go to school and you tell everybody what's going to happen before it happens, you get labeled a freak. So I was very nervous. I was shy. I would stutter, and I learned to block my abilities for most of my life the best that I could. But when anybody died, they would always come to me. You know, even if they were an acquaintance of the family, they would come to me, and I'd be like, "Hey, Joe Smo passed last night." "No, he didn't. I saw him. I'm telling you, he died last." Sure enough, they'd find out he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I live with 3 generations of rather clairvoyant women, so there's a lot of things that are seen and felt that I'm just not privy to. So it's interesting.
Well, you can be. And
Yeah.
again, you know, I used to teach mediumship and psychic development. So, you know, when you learn how to meditate and you get in touch with your soul and you start getting more sensitive to the energy, if you ask, the universe will supply whatever you
Yeah.
ask the universe. If you want to talk to your grandmother that passed and you ask, you'll start seeing her face when you're meditating. You'll
Yeah.
see her. Yeah.
So is the Ouija board really dangerous?
So anything is dangerous for people that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay,
True.
even meditation, and most people don't teach meditation properly, which is a real, you know, thorn in my side, because when you open yourself up to the universe and you're opening yourself up to good, you're also opening yourself up to evil, and evil is real. Evil is real. I've gotten my education on that, you know, kind of the hard way sometimes from consulting with paranormal groups and authors. And you know, I had a sorcerer that's been dead since the 1600s come through a picture that I was analyzing and literally attacked me within minutes. I had a sty blow up on my eye. I'm like, what
Yeah.
in the world? So
Yeah.
evil is real, is very real.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to communicate with the other side, you better be careful who you're communicating with. You want to know who you're communicating with. You don't just, even when someone comes to me and they want mediumship and they want to talk to somebody from the other side, I have the ability to bring through anyone, but I want to know who I'm bringing through. So if you sit down and say, yeah, I want to talk to my old partner, Bob, that I worked with, I'll have you call him in your head and I'll describe him because I don't know him, you do.
Yeah.
And once I've described his personality and some quirks about him, you will have enough knowledge to know that it's him. Okay. But if you sat down and said, oh, I don't know, whoever wants to come through, that is a waste of both of our times because you've got hundreds of people that want to come through. They're always, trying to sneak in because they want to give a message. And I spent 25 minutes with a woman telling me she doesn't know who it is, until it finally clicked. And it was the next door neighbor's mother that passed to give a message to the, I'm like, really?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Human folly. So who's been kind of a role model or a hero for you in your life?
Role model and a hero. So I have a sister that passed that's on the other side. She was Hindu. And since she's gone to the other side, she's been a real role model for me on the other side. She's been a huge help. On this side, one of my first teachers was a great mentor to me. She could only take me so far, because admittedly my abilities are more than hers. But I'm very happy and proud that I was able to be under her tutorial originally.
So if you could meet one person on this side and on the other side that you haven't yet, who would you love to meet?
There's really nobody in particular, and I'll tell you why. Because everyone that I meet, I learn something from. Everyone that I meet is such, for 90% of the people that I meet, they're wonderful souls. You always have the few people out here that are a little bit lower vibrational. They're very connected to their own ego or narcissistic type of things, but for the majority of people are wonderful. And I'm grateful for everyone that I meet and everyone that I see. And there's just so many souls on the other side that I've connected to that are wonderful as well, that come through to help me when I ask. And I don't always know who it is. Like when I asked to channel the book, I had no idea who the person was. Maybe it was famous back then. I didn't look it up to find out. I don't know.
That's the thing that's so great about the therapeutic nature of podcasting these days, is that there's this level of understanding that we're all kind of coming from the same place, especially as divided as we are as people now, politically, so to speak. There's a lot of common ground that goes into it. I started watching a documentary on Rainn Wilson last night, and he's trying to find happiness. He just has never really been happy, and he's going through. And he's going to all these places and he's figuring out how people live. And he went to Iceland, and I had no idea how eclectic and how wonderful the Icelandic culture is, and just how they roll and how they do it. It's such a wonderful way of living. But he's delving into all of these things and really going at it from what you say. He's taking his soul and he's really kind of putting it in front of a mirror and saying, who am I? Why have I not been fully satisfied? I mean, successful actor, he has all these things, and he just hasn't found it.
Well, you have to connect with his soul, first of all, and gone on his life path. We all planned this life out. You're here for a reason. There's no accidents. And when you get on your life path, you'll know it.
Yeah.
You'll absolutely know it. I was in business my whole life. And when I started doing readings and stuff, people thought I had gone off the deep end and I was crazy, literally. And I did a reading for a woman whose son had died probably 45 years earlier. And she was tortured. You could see it. She was in her 80s. She had a terrible life, thought she caused her son to commit suicide. And I was able to bring him through to her, and he did not commit suicide. It was a horrible accident. And they were able to reconcile both this side and that side. And I asked her, I said, why didn't you come to see me sooner? This happened like 45 years ago. And she said to me that she had gone to see every medium she could, and I'm the first person to ever be able to bring him through in 45 years. And that was it for me. I'm like, you know what? I don't care who calls me crazy. If I could have helped this woman and him on the 45 years ago, imagine how different her life may have been.
Wow.
So I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And the people that I help, they'll come back to me and just tell me how amazing their life. I one guy was in prison, his wife divorced him, he lost everything he had, lost his friends, everything. Came out and was ready to commit suicide, and I popped up on a commercial for him. And his life is amazing. He wrote a book about his prison experience. He contacted everybody in town that he had stolen money from and paid them all back. His family started rallying around him. His friends came back. He started his own business. Just amazing life now.
That's
And I
great.
have so many people will tell me that. So I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
So I guess that's my more elemental question to you is what is it every day that gets you out of bed that makes you want to help these people and that makes you who you are?
So I'm human. I'm having a human experience like everybody else. That's why
Sure.
we're here. And I have good days, bad days like everybody else. But I start my day every morning when I get out of bed meditating for about a half hour so that I can connect with my soul and the other side. And I have no, I know they'll tell me what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And as long as I just keep plugging forward, they'll put me where I'm supposed to be. And I trust that because that's what it's all about. It's about the trust. And every day I try to look for the positive things that are happening. And yeah, I mean, I'm only human. I have good, good things happen to me, things that aren't so good happen to me, but I look at them and understand that they're happening for a reason. If something in your life is happening and you think it's a tragedy or something, it's happening for a reason. It's the other side of that is something good comes out of everything.
Yeah.
Look at the good that came out of COVID. We
Yeah.
would have known half the stuff that was happening. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
known what they were teaching in our schools, right? People stayed home and they connected with each other more. They realized that they'd been, working too much and not spending time with family. And, you have to look at what else came out of it that was good. There's a lot of good that came out of it.
I think as humans, we elevated to a higher level of consciousness because of it. I think we became more aware of a lot of things, whether it's mental health, race relations, the class war we always go through. You know what I'm saying? Seems like the microscope was really pulled down on appropriate things.
Well, it's funny. So when my abilities really opened up and I started getting training on how to control it and everything, one day I was almost having a panic attack. And I'm like, oh my God, there is so much evil in this world. And there is a war going on between evil and good. And this was long before COVID. And they're like, June, calm down, calm down. It's been going on since the beginning of time. It's always been there. It's just out of balance right now. And because you can see it, it's highlighted for you right now.
Yeah.
Relax,
Yeah.
relax. You're on the right side. It will eventually, everything swings. The pendulum swings, right?
Yeah.
Goes this way, and we'll eventually end up in the middle with the balance. And I think that's what we're leading to at this point in our time, is leading
So
to more balance.
absolutely. So my question to you is, I've heard it said that if you get some level of communication from the other side, whether it's a vision, that if you do talk about it and put it out there, there's a chance that it can go away. Like the people that came to you, is there? So this is my
Never
question
heard
to you.
such a thing.
So this is what happened to me when I was young.
Yeah.
My best friend had it was kidney problems, and he was in and out of the hospital. We'd go out and play, he'd come inside, put an IV in, take his drip, and it was just a regular thing. I didn't think anything of it. Well, he died when I was 17. When I was 17, he was 16. And I started seeing him in dreams in my 20s. And it was like we were back in the childhood home hanging out. And I'd be like, his name was Matt. I was like, what's going on here? And he was like, we're just hanging out. And he just would act like we were just hanging out. So I started kind of getting lucid about it. And I decided to ask him a question. I was curious. And I just stopped him and I said, what does God feel like? And instantly I was over a lake that was completely serene. And it was like a giant rope swing, and I was sitting on it, and I went, and I was going really fast, and my big toe lightly skimmed the very top of the water, and boom, I never saw him again in a dream. It was over with. And I've talked about it and I've thought about it, but it's weird how I've heard that sometimes those things, there's a message, and after that it's game over.
Okay, so first of all, there's a difference between a dream and a visit. Okay.
Sure.
A visit, it seems real, and you wake up immediately after and you remember it.
Yeah.
That's a visit. Okay. Now, if you're not meditating and connecting with them on that, so we're in 3D. Okay. 5D is the lowest level of heaven where they're at. And 4D is that nice sandwich place. That's where your dreams are in 4D.
Yeah.
And when people raise their vibration, they're usually lowering their vibration and they're meeting in that 4D space. Okay. It's how they connect. So if you're not meditating for them to come through to you during the day, their only option is to get to you in that 4D space when you're sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And clearly he liked your company and wanted to come hang out with you because they're no different on the other side than they were here.
Yeah.
Okay. And they can present as anything. So what they usually do is they come through to me either the way they passed, so people can recognize them, or the way they stay on the other side, the way they thought they were the happiest on this lifetime. So like my mom comes through at 19 all the time because that was the happiest time in her life. She always comes through at the age of 19. And so if he's coming through to you, he probably just missed you and wanted to hang out with you for a bit.
Yeah.
But then when you asked what heaven was like, he put you into a scenario which was probably the closest thing he could do to give you that feeling, because it's you can't explain it in words. We don't have words, to be honest with you, to explain that feeling.
Sure.
And it's just it's amazing. But he wanted to put you in a scenario where that you would feel, amazing, which he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
ask for him to come back, he'll come back and visit you.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
he will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably should. I remember making a promise to his mom a few years after I ran into her in a grocery store, and I said, I'm going to live a little harder for him just because he's not going to experience all of it.
And what people don't understand is they don't ever want to be forgotten. They're on the other
Right.
side, they're having fun, but they still have that connection with you. Hence the reason why most people don't reincarnate for about 300 to 400 of our years, which is more like 12 to 1500 of the years on the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
Time's different.
Yeah.
And she came to me right after she passed and things, but we had a tumultuous relationship when she was here because she didn't like me being her guardian. And it took her about about a year of our time, which would be throughout 3.5 years. No, it's the other way. So 3.5 years of our time, which is about a year of their time. She came to me and said that, and thanked me and apologized for the way she was here, and said that she had been working on herself on the other side because she didn't want to come back again and have to repeat any of the lessons that she didn't learn and be any of those things that she was here when she was here last time. So other than working on themselves, they're the same people on the other side that they were here. If they were funny, they're funny. If they're, kind, gentle souls, they're still the same.
So you froze up a little bit.
They're a jerk.
Right, exactly. So you froze up a little bit. Who was this again?
This was my sister, my younger
Okay.
sister that had
I got you.
passed.
Okay. Yeah, I think about that with my dad a lot. My dad, a lot of his life was overweight, and there was health complications when he got to a certain point, and he passed in '08 at 64. And I keep thinking there's an incarnation of him right now that's probably really enjoying things. He always wanted to travel and see the world.
So they don't reincarnate that fast. There's an exception to every rule, but they don't. But I guarantee you, what I find is if there's stuff that they wanted to do and they didn't do it here, he's on the other side traveling.
That's exactly.
Yeah, they live vicariously. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably in that body that he had when he came from New York. He was born in Brooklyn, raised on Long Island, came to Kansas City. I think around the time that he came here, he was probably in that incarnation. So it's it's good. Those are comforting thoughts. That's definitely something that brings me a lot of comfort, because I know that somewhere out there it's working out. So,
but all you have to do is talk about him like that, and he's right next to you.
Yeah, right.
They show up immediately.
And I find that with monarchs sometimes, because that's kind of, there's certain telltale things that happen, but I sense it. And cardinals were a big deal. I'll see a cardinal every once in a while, and I'm like, all right, okay, so it's fun. So as a writer, what was the first book that you read when you were younger that really gave you kind of the itch to want to read more or write?
I was a prolific reader when I was a kid. So I think I started out with the Pippi Longstocking series, and then I transitioned over to Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And I used to have like an idyllic memory. I used to be able to verbatim repeat at like every story from Edgar Allan Poe. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But then I got into true crimes. I get into all, I mean, they led me with, it's interesting. So when I first put my program together, the relationship mastery program, I'm like, geez, I should probably have some books in here that pertain to this that other people would like to read. I went over my bookcase, and I could not believe the extensive library I had collected through the years on relationships, paranormal, and you name it. I had a library that was to die for this stuff. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm interested, everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who am I? I'm just a normal person, like everybody else, that found my path in life. And I have the same struggles as everybody else. You know, I've got to work and pay the bills, and, you know, have relationships and have children that have issues that I have to counsel. And I'm no different than anybody else. It's just that I'm able to receive information from the other side, and I don't live my life in fear.
Yeah, I sense that. June, if anyone wants to reach out, get your books, hire you, learn more about you, where's the best place to go?
My website will take you everywhere, JuneEdward.com, no S, or they can just type in 5lovelessons.com, and it will also take you to my website. And my newest book will be out in print in probably another 10 days. I'm just waiting for the full moon to go by, the new moon to come by.
Excellent. June, this has not only been revealing, it's been very comforting. Thank you so much for taking time out today and giving us your story. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you. It was great to meet you.
Great to meet you. Take care.